Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 6 of The Owl House. So yeah, we're here with another episode and another chance for me to complain about them not bringing up the mother again yet. But in all seriousness, like I am enjoying this show, but that is a legitimate issue with me that is still continuing. And I don't know. Obviously I don't know what's going to happen in this episode, but seriously, this is a legitimate issue because Luz has been presumably gone for a notable amount of time at this point. Like I'd say probably a couple of weeks, um, or at least 1 to 2 weeks. I would say probably. Um, and within that time, it's like you've got to think, like again, her mother would have been clued in by the camp. Hell, that would have happened within on that day because she was supposed to arrive at the camp on that day. So they would have called her and asked her, like, is Luz still coming? And all of that. And it's like, that would obviously concern her mother. But instead, again, they're just kind of ignoring it. And I get the story is centering around Luz and Ida and their kind of relationship, you could say, as student and teacher, as well as Luz's just integration into this world and shit. But this is something that needed to be brought up already. I mean, sure, they could have brought it up and not had any true resolution until the end of the season, but still, it should have already been brought up. Like, again, because this is something that would have happened right away. Because at this point, the only thing I could think they would do is that when they do bring it up, if they do, they would have to say, like, oh, this took place in the past. That it's like, oh, when like it shows a scene where Luz's mother finds out, but they would have to say this takes place in the past. Because if they tried to say, oh, it takes place at the current moment, that would make no sense. And I really apologize if I'm seeming like I'm just like bitching about this series with that and all, but again, the series is enjoyable enough otherwise. I enjoy it, but that is a glaring issue for me. Like a really glaring issue. Like, go back to when I watched Little Witch Academia. Which actually someone just asked in the comments recently if I had ever seen that. Unfortunately, it was on the old channel. I can't bring it back just because I don't have the files anymore. But yes, I watched Little Witch Academia I'm on the old channel and everything, on the old account. I reacted to it. And while I thought the series was enjoyable, and I made my way to the end and all, its biggest glaring issue was the fact that it held on to the secret of Ursula's identity for so long. Well, okay, I say it held on to the secret, but only for like the character Akko, for only for her character in the show. And I mean, I guess Diana and the others as well, but still. The fans, the viewers, knew it pretty much from the very beginning. One, not only was it just super obvious, but also it was blatantly told to us, like pretty much right at the beginning of the series, and it's like we had to go throughout the entire show waiting and waiting for something to be said, and it was so painful to sit there the entire show and Akko never find out. And the thing that makes it even worse is that if Akko had found out prior, it could have led to some really good stuff, and it would still have made the entire thing. With my camera died. Hold on. It would have still worked with the entire thing at the end with Akko finding out that Shiny Chariot and all did what she did and everything. the entire moon situation and whatnot. That still could have worked, because that still could have been hidden. And I think, because that was hidden until the end, that we didn't know about as viewers. So I think that still could have worked out, and Akko could have still known. And in fact, I think it would have actually had more impact if Akko did find out that she was Shining Chariot earlier on, and that she started like just being so close to her and praising her, and they like had this bigger, greater bond than they actually did in the show. It would have just made it feel more impactful when that reveal came out later. And even though, again, the reason why she hid it for so long made sense, but that doesn't make it feel better in terms of a viewing experience. It still made the viewing experience really negative overall, and really was, again, the biggest glaring issue for Little Witch Academia. And I kind of vowed at that point that I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see any series do that kind of shit again. Hold off on something that should be revealed early on. I think that's one of the worst things a series can do, because it just leads to, again, a terrible viewing experience, in my opinion. And even though the series otherwise was good, it completely sapped my love for the series. Honestly, I probably would have liked Little Witch Academia a lot more than I actually did, and would be able to rank it higher on my list of anime if it didn't do that. But that kept it from being like any better than it was for me. And so I really am starting to get annoyed with this series for kind of doing the same thing. Even though the episodes otherwise are still good and enjoyable, that is still weighing heavy on my mind and is still annoying me. It's still bothering me. And eventually I will get to the point where I can't stand it anymore. So I'm really hoping they reveal this soon. That they show this soon. Because eventually I'm going to lose interest in this. I'm just telling you right now. If they don't have that happen soon, if they don't show Luz's mother having found out about this and worrying about her soon, again, they don't need to have any big resolution to it yet. That can wait till the end of the season. But we need to have it shown that she knows Luz is missing. And that Luz actively lied to her as well, because Luz sent her a text, apparently, in the first episode that said that she's enjoying her time at camp. And, again, the camp would have called. So it's just like, she would know that Luz was blatantly lying to her, too. There just needs to be something started with this. We need to have it shown that her mother knows that she's not at camp. And that she's missing. Just that. You could sprinkle other parts throughout the rest of the season. You can have it resolved at the very end, but you have to get it at least started. And like I said, I'm just saying now, it is bothering me. And it's going to keep bothering me more and more every episode that passes that doesn't give us anything with that. And eventually, I will lose interest in this series if it keeps doing that. At the very least, I will lose interest in reacting to it. That's a promise. That's not even saying I might. That's a guarantee. This seriously needs to do this soon. Because no matter how much I'm enjoying the series otherwise, this is always going to be weighing down on my interest factor in it. And that is the main thing that keeps me reacting to shows, whether or not I have an interest in continuing to react to them, whether or not I'm excited to see more. And the problem is, if it keeps doing something like this, my interest is going to drop like a brick. And it's just, as I've said in the past, I'm not going to just force myself to sit through watching a show that I'm losing that much interest in. I will not do that. And obviously I'm watching this as it airs, unlike Little Witch Academia, which I think was finished when I started, or at least was partway through. I don't think I watched it when it aired. I don't think I did. But either way, I'm watching this as it airs and everything, and that also makes it kind of worse. Because it's like I can't just like marathon through a bunch of episodes to get to that point where it's like, oh yeah, here's the reveal and everything. And no one else knows when it's going to happen either, so it's like, ugh. So again, I do really feel, I do really apologize if it feels like I'm just coming off as bitchy. It's just, I'm really upset. Admittedly upset by this, by the fact that we're already, at this point in the series, we're already at episode 6, and there's been nothing on that since the very first episode. And it just, it does not work in my eyes to do it this way. At this point, I'm probably thinking it has to happen by episode 10. I don't know how many episodes this season is going to be, but it has to happen by episode 10 at the absolute latest. Granted, if that's like the end of the season, which I doubt it's going to be. But if that were, then that would be a big mistake in and of itself. But in fact, I'm going to look that up right now. I'm going to look that up. Because I need to know this. This is going to affect things. And again, I really do apologize. I really do. If this just comes across as me being bitchy or petty or anything. But it's important to me from a storytelling perspective. Okay, so there's going to be 19 episodes for the first season. It has already been renewed for a second season. And right now, there's 10 episodes listed on here, and they continue like each week, obviously. March 6th, March 13th, March 20th. Episode 7 actually comes out today. I'm not reacting to it, obviously, today, but still. Either way. So, yeah. Out of 19 episodes, it definitely has to happen by episode 10, which is halfway through. If it doesn't happen by the halfway point, it's basically at that point lost to me. At that point, it's basically like, no, you can't recover from that kind of mistake. Like, because, again, there's only... Well, actually, two things you could do at this point. Either, again, show that she had found out at the very beginning, and it's just like, oh, like this happened in the past, like a flashback to a few weeks ago or something like that. But the problem with that is, it just should have shown us this before. It's like there's no legitimate reason why it shouldn't have shown us this before. If they're just going to do it that way. So that doesn't work. The only other option is to just kind of go to like the current day and show that she has been searching for that entire time and had found out, just without having a flashback scene. It's just like, oh, she had been searching. It's like, I've been searching for her for weeks. And it just like going from a present day kind of situation. The problem with that would be that it still doesn't give a reason for why they couldn't show it. There's literally no reason why they couldn't have shown her mother finding out about this. There's nothing that can be said to fix that. So it has to happen by episode 10. And I am giving it until episode 10. If it doesn't happen by episode 10, I am dropping this series from reactions. I might continue to watch it on my own time, but I'm not going to continue reacting to this series when it continues to dance around an issue, or just not even dance around it, just completely ignore it. Ignore something that needs to be said. that needs to be covered. Again, all they have to do is acknowledge it. They don't have to like go too heavy into it. They don't have to like discuss it to too much of a degree at this very moment. And it doesn't need to be resolved even until the very end. They just have to bring it up. It just has to be made a note of, basically. Because we have gotten absolutely nothing regarding it since the first episode. And that's unacceptable. So if it doesn't happen by episode 10, like I said, it's unacceptable. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. Because I'm laying down the ultimatum here. And I'm completely serious. I'm not joking. I'm not, like, going to be lenient on this. No matter how good the rest of these episodes up to episode 10 are, if it isn't shown by episode 10, and that includes episode 10, obviously, then I'm dropping this series. I can't be lenient on that anymore. I'm not. It vastly hinders my enjoyment of this series, and the longer it goes on, the more and more it hinders it. So at that point, it's just like I won't be able to deal with that. So hopefully it reveals it, preferably in this episode, but at least by episode 10. And again, I want to make it very clear I am enjoying this series. Otherwise, like, Luz is a great character, Ida's hilarious, King is kind of the cute comic relief. Hasn't really done anything super valuable yet, but I enjoy it. It has a lot of great creativity and fun to it, but this is a massive issue that I can't just get over. I can't just let it go. I can't just enjoy the series for the sake of enjoying the series. I can't do that. My mind doesn't work like that. I literally can't just enjoy the series that way. If it makes a legitimate, like, writing error like this, it bothers me. It's not something I can control. It's not something that I can just get over. So hopefully it gets fixed. Hopefully everything is handled. In the meantime, we are just going to get started on this episode and hope for the best. And hope at least that it's still just a good episode. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch, you come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so once again, nothing regarding Luz's mom. So that's massive disappointment. And this episode was disappointing. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't that great compared to past episodes, especially the last two. The last two were great. This episode, like, ignoring the entire thing about Luz's mom, just ignoring that for a moment, just judging the episode as it was just kind of disappointing. Like, for an episode named after, and obviously inspired by the Studio Ghibli film Howl's Moving Castle, which is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli movies, it was just not that interesting. There's obviously an A plot and a B plot. So let's go over both. The A plot is, of course, Luz wanting to hold a moonlight conjuring with her friends. It's apparently an event that can only take place once a year because the moon's only, I guess, in the right position once a year. And basically, you can conjure and bring something to life. Yeah, okay. They end up accidentally bringing the entire house to life and kind of taking it for a joyride unintentionally. Well, at first unintentionally. They end up getting in trouble, though, when this group of demon hunters thinks the house is a demon and tries to take them down, including throwing them off a cliff, even though they're just kids. Which apparently is a dream come true for one of the demon hunters. Like, what? Um, but yeah. In the end, they end up, because Willow gets some self-confidence from Luz, she's able to use her plant magic to save them, and they get the house back while simultaneously saving Ida, who had gotten in her own trouble, which I'll get to with the B plot. This was the biggest disappointment of this episode. The A plot was not interesting. For an episode that focused on a house being brought to life, it just felt like they did the bare minimum with that concept. And maybe it's partially because that they did have to split time with the B plot, with Ida and King. But it just felt like all it did was walk around. Like, Howl's Moving Castle does so many more exciting, interesting things with it. And just in general is more interesting in how it's handled. The castle in Howl's Moving Castle feels much more alive. It feels much more like a big deal. It has all these moving parts, all these facets to it that make it feel like it's just more of a magical thing. And in here, it just felt like, oh, they bring a house kind of to life, and all it does is walk around. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Like, literally nothing interesting was done with the concept. The most interesting part of it was when they were attacked by the demon hunters, yeah. And it's like, even that was just kind of a minor inconvenience in the end. So it just felt like completely unimpressive and uninteresting. The only big things it did with the A plot was that it revealed that Willow and Amity were once friends. That it had a good self-confidence boost, kind of that moral with Willow. And, of course, at the end, Amity and her friends found out about Luz, Willow, and I cannot think of his name at the moment. But their little joyride. Gus, that's his name. But they found out about their little joyride and the fact that they were magically conjuring a house to life and shit. But yeah, just, it wasn't that interesting. The B plot was actually much more interesting. The only problem with the B plot is that it was less focused on because it was a B plot. So in the B plot, we had Ida kind of falling to her curse again. She's out of elixir, so her curse is starting to pop up again, and she has to go try and find some more. So she ends up having to go to this night market because the normal seller she has at the day market doesn't have it yet. He's kind of out of stock. So she goes to the night market to find this guy. I can't remember his name. It was, I think, Grim something. But he went by Tibbler or something like that. But so she goes to the night market. She meets him. He's this little pig dude. And basically she asks him if he has elixir, and he does. She offers 10 money for it. I forgot what exactly it was. It was owls, I think, just for the joke, I guess, but I don't know. But she offers 10 pieces of money for it. He wants 1,000, which is capitalism, as he makes the joke, which I do like that joke. But he wants much more for it, and so she challenges him to play the Hexus Hold'em, which is obviously play on Texas Hold'em. And it's a card game she likes that was previously shown at the beginning of the episode. It was kind of built up to. Now, at first, this Tibbler guy, he acts like he doesn't know it, and it's super obvious it's a hustle. It's super obvious. I've seen the entire hustle kind of thing done in many different shows and stuff. I mentioned Fresh Prince. And in there, it was a lot less obvious when it was done. But in here, it's like, It's wild because it's like it's so fucking obvious. Like, because especially the excuse you use, it's like, oh, is that what this is called? I was just using these as coasters. And it's like, she never actually showed the cards to him. How did he know that those cards were what she was talking about if he doesn't know what Hexus Hold'em is? It's like, it's so super fucking obvious, but Ida is like, I mean, obviously she needs the she needs the elixir, but it's like she just doesn't realize that? Or at least King or someone? Like, come on, that was super obvious. It's super obvious he's hustling her, and of course he wins. He's going to turn her in for the reward because he knew who she was the entire time. And she ends up escaping, basically thanks to the house freeing her and helping and everything. Well, actually, it just basically distracts Tibbler, and King is able to get the potion to Ida, who drinks it, escapes, and, yeah, is able to take care of things. So, yeah, that's fun. But like I said, it was much more interesting. I would have liked to see more of, like, Ida's adventures in the night market, more of her having to, like, deal with this dude and everything. I think it would have been much more interesting. Just much more, I'd be much more invested in that than the A plot was. But again, the issue with the B plot here is that it was so kind of skimmed over because it was a B plot. They just didn't put a lot into it, and it just felt kind of just unfinished almost. And because of that, it did come off as really disappointing as well. Now, of course, this episode is building to things with, of course, Amity and her friends learning about Willow, Luz, and Gus's adventures and their magical power to be able to bring a house to life. But on top of that, it's also continuing the ongoing thing with Ida's curse. That's not like just a one-time thing or just briefly mentioned. We're actually seeing that it's still affecting her. We're continuously seeing that, and I like that. But as I said in the pre-thoughts, the one thing we didn't get is something we still need to, and that is the stuff with Luz's mom. Because, like I said at the beginning, it's something that needs to happen for the sake of the story. For the writing of the series, it's a massive plot hole if it doesn't. And at this point, like I said, it needs to happen by episode 10. Meaning we have 4 episodes left. 7, 8, 9, and 10. If it doesn't happen within those 4 episodes, I'm dropping the show. And like I said in the pre-thoughts, I'm completely serious about this. I'm not joking. I'm not going to hold back on this. It's such a massive plot hole to me. It's such a big deal at this point that it's just going to continuously weigh down on my enjoyment of this show. And granted, now, I mean, even with episodes that I really, really do like, not because obviously this episode, just on its own merits, I wasn't really fond of, but still, it's going to weigh down my overall interest and enjoyment of the show and make me not want to watch it anyway. So I'm laying down an ultimatum. I'm not going to have another Little Witch Academia situation. Little Witch Academia was very much held down by that. But I kept going. I think I actually tried to drop Little Witch Academia at a point because of it. Maybe I actually straight up did. I don't know. Either way, yeah, I'm not dealing with it again. So that's what's happening. And I really, again, it just has to actually legitimately bring it up. It doesn't have to get any big conclusions with it or anything. It doesn't have to go like too heavy into it. It just has to be made a point of. We have to know that Luz's mom found out she's not at camp and is worried for her. That's it. It literally would take like less than a minute to show that on screen. It's not even difficult. So it's like, seriously. They need to show it, though, because otherwise it's just a massively glaring plot hole. So, yeah. We'll see and hope for the best. And we'll continue this as we go. But that's the ultimatum. I'm setting it down. I do already know what is going to be replacing this show afterwards, no matter what. Whether or not I end up dropping it or continuing it all the way to the end at episode 19. I do know what is taking its place, so don't have to worry about that. But yeah, so hopefully it ends up fulfilling that, and just in general, hopefully the next 4 episodes are just better than this one was. Either way, tell me what you thought down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.